going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a thumbs up, follow me on Twitter as well at SuperHighDC. I always leave the link in the description to my Twitter profile, so you can follow me there. So last night, of course, after I posted my video talking about HBO Max and Christopher Nolan and all that, which you can find on my channel if you want to watch that one also. The story about Joe Manganiello dropping some pretty distinct, awesome details about the Batman movie that was supposed to happen with him and Ben Affleck. He dropped some big details about that movie in an interview, and I think, as far as I'm aware, this is probably the most detail we've heard about what was supposed to be in the movie, like as far as plot, storyline. We knew that Deathstroke was going to be the villain because we had all seen the camera tests of the suit and everything. But, and of course he was in the credit scene for Justice League, which I'll get to in a minute. He also talked about that. So he was just like spilling all the tea in this interview. So let's get into it. Again, Ben Affleck had left the Batman project after what happened with Justice League. But it says that, there were similarities to the movie The Game, referring to Fincher's 1997 cult favorite that starred Michael Douglas as a rich banker who loses everything overnight and then runs a dangerous gauntlet orchestrated by a shadowy organization. So as far as, that's what he's kind of drawing some similarities from, is how he described it. Then he goes on to talk about what was in the original pitch. Deathstroke performed a similar demolition job on Bruce Wayne's life, systematically destroying his public status as Gotham City's leading citizen and his private existence as its caped crusader. Quote, "It was a really dark story in which Deathstroke was like a shark or a horror movie villain that was dismantling Bruce's life from the inside out. It was this systematic thing. He killed everyone close to Bruce and destroyed his life to try and make him suffer because he felt that Bruce was responsible for something that happened to him." That's insane. Who's so close to Bruce that he would kill? If Joker killed Robin, who else would he kill? Was it Selena Kyle? Is it people in the GCPD? And, GCPD? Is it... I hope it's not Alfred. Oh my god, no. But who else would Bruce be that close to, I don't know. It said that Affleck's proposed storyline also bears strong similarities to Born Again, which is a classic arc from Frank Miller's run on Marvel's Daredevil comic book that was loosely adapted to the screen in the third season of Netflix, the Netflix series that people are calling for to return as well. He said it was really cool, really dark, and really hard. I was very excited for it. And so here's where we get into the credit scene that was at the end of Justice League in the theatrical version. This is very clarifying for me because I was confused when I saw this credit scene in theaters. I was not 100% sure if it was a Snyder or a Whedon reshoot. If it was a Snyder original shot or if Whedon reshot it. But I had remembered seeing, Zack Snyder had shared pictures of Joe Manganiello in the Deathstroke suit on set, on the boat and everything. It looked like he shot that. And I remember seeing the picture of Snyder behind the scenes where he's kind of leaning and you see Joe Manganiello there, kind of in the background. It looks like they're on that set. So I was confused when Joe Manganiello said the real credit scene, referring back to when Snyder and Henry Cavill made the announcement for the Snyder Cut. I was like, well, I thought that was a Zack Snyder shot. So this is clarifying, okay? So, okay, in the credit scene, Deathstroke goes to see Lex Luthor on this yacht, right? It says, in the sequence that Manganiello shot with Snyder during principal photography in 2016, the dastardly duo discussed what to do about Batman, thus setting the gears of Slade's master plan in motion. But when Affleck stepped away from directing the Batman, which was the following January after Justice League was released in theaters, and Joss Whedon replaced Snyder, Oh no, the following January. Oh no, this is during shooting still, when Snyder left and Joss Whedon came in. I'm sorry, misunderstood that. The actor assumed that the scene was a goner and put Slade in his rear view. Then, in the run-up to the movie's theatrical release, he found out that his scene was still in the picture, but it teased a completely different follow-up. So he said, I thought that scene was gone, but producer John Berg called me up and said, we've reworked the scene and put it back in. He said he remembers I was as surprised as anybody, but instead of the Batman, the Lex Slade encounter now laid the groundwork for a second Justice League film, though not necessarily the one Snyder had planned. Because if you remember in that conversation with Lex and Deathstroke, Lex says, shouldn't we have a league of our own? But that's not what, Snyder wanted to include or tease in that credit scene. So rather than reboot the entire sequence, the filmmakers opted to rewrite Eisenberg's side of the conversation. Manganiello says they reshot all of Jesse's dialogue to tease Justice League Part 2, which was going to be about the Injustice League. And they mentioned that for the record, Snyder intended to feature the alien despot Darkseid as the primary villain in his Justice League 2-parter. So we know that. All of the dialogue was about Batman originally, and it was changed to lines like, shouldn't we have a league of our own? So now that makes sense that, yes, Snyder shot that, but in the reshoots, when Whedon took over, they only reshot Jesse Eisenberg's lines for Lex Luthor and kept Deathstroke's dialogue so that's how that worked out. And now it makes sense because when Joe Manganiello shared this picture during the Us United campaign with the mohawk, and he looked very different from how he looked in the credit scene in the movie, I thought that meant they reshot everything for the credit scene, but now it makes sense. And that's why I was thinking that this had to be from additional photography, this image, because he looked different, but he also explains that as well. So like I said, he was just dropping everything in this interview. So then he kind of goes into talk about, after this whole Justice League debacle happened and all this other, the Batman was changed and, Deathstroke was kind of just like, his movie was thrown out, basically. They said that he worked on that for 6 months, which he says 6 months worth of his blood, sweat, and tears that he devoted to this. And he said, I worked with an Oscar-nominated writer on that treatment, and it was one of those projects that got canceled during that period. There were maybe 7 different Deathstroke projects that all didn't happen over the course of 4 years. And he's continued to say, it's one of those funny things in Hollywood and in life where you just gotta let it go. That was also new to me, that over the course of 4 years, there was just, they had all these, 7 different Deathstroke projects that were discussed. So when he goes on to talk about the whole mohawk look, this pretty much confirms for me that we're going to see him in the Nightmare sequence, because he's not going to have this mohawk and this look in the credit scene, because we know that they kept Snyder's shot and dialogue of him in that scene, just not Lex Luthor. So where are we going to see him like this, right? But he pretty much lays it out there. So, of course, we've seen the picture of him. He said, Zack called me one day and asked, how'd you like to do it again? So I said, sure, man, I'll be there. And he told me, okay, we're getting your armor out of storage in England and we're going to fly it over here. Is there anything you want to do differently? Pretty cool. I think it's so cool that Zack Snyder gets input from them and not as just like, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to look, and blah, 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 blah. Even though he already looked a certain way in the credit scene, right? He said that he had all kinds of fresh ideas that he wanted to put into his last stab at Deathstroke, including a few culled from his never-made treatment, meaning his solo movie, right? Some of those elements I snuck into this round, specifically the mohawk. He said the greatest warriors are the ones who walk into battle already dead or assuming that they're going to die. They're looking for someone who could actually kill them. There's almost an excitement around that, like, is today going to be the day? So there was a climactic moment in my standalone story where I wanted Slade to shave his head into this warlike mohawk, knowing that he was going off to his own death. I said to Zack, I always envisioned him with a big white mohawk, and he was totally down for it. So that's, to me, saying that he's going to be in the nightmare scene for sure. Like, I'm pretty confident in that now, as I think a lot of people are. And, talking about moving forward, depending on how the series is received, Manganiello has fresh hopes of reviving his standalone Deathstroke script. He said hopefully this will reinvigorate interest from the fans as far as wanting to see this version of the character get told. We landed on an origin story that everyone I've ever pitched it to has gone crazy for. There's been so many versions of this character over the years, and I just wanted to put my own stink on him. So, a lot. Like, I know that, everyone in this fandom who is fans of Ben Affleck's Batman and Snyder Cut and, BDS and Man of Steel, like, we all want this. So it would be totally awesome if it happens. I think it's very likely that it will. I've said many times in my videos talking about the HBO Max Batman series, movie, whatever, whether it's just the Batman with Deathstroke as the villain or whether they do a Deathstroke solo movie. In that case, I think it'd be more likely that they will do the Batman project first and then move from there. I don't think a Deathstroke solo movie would come first, even though it's an origin story, because they don't have to like make them, and show them chronologically. They can show him as the villain in the Batman project, because I think that will... Batman's always their big moneymaker, right? So if indeed it's true that HBO Max wants to do Ben Affleck's Batman project as he originally intended it, with Deathstroke as the villain, then I think that will open the door for a higher possibility for them to do a Deathstroke solo movie so they can see people's response to him as the villain in that movie, which people already wanted. And all we got of him was a few seconds in this credit scene in Justice League, which we will now get the original credit scene for that and more. So lots of cool details, of course, causing lots of conversation among fans. I'm here for it. I'm down for it. Please do this. Can't wait to see him again in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and even more this time. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe out there. Again, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. The link's in the description. Leave a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.